As a former New Hampshire state representative who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963, he currently serves on the New Hampshire Commission for Human Rights. He's a product of Birmingham, Alabama, where at one time he had to guess how many jelly beans were in a fruit jar just to be able to vote.
We've come a long way, but we're not there yet.
Together we will explore the visible laws, invisible laws, and the structures above and beneath our human surface that keep us reaching for the stars. It is his goal to work with you in putting Nashua back on top, to be voted the #1 city in the nation again.
We are in a crisis situation, and that's what we're going to talk about.
I'm Harvey Keye. Welcome to Nashua Strong.
Hello, Nashua. Boy, has it been a long time. I want to apologize to you for not being in your presence and enjoying the company of 90,000 people in the best city in the country to live in. Since I saw you last and was in your living room and your dining room, your coffee shops, I've had some issues with the medical part of my life. They thought I was going to be dead. And I said, no, not coming. But they had me in the hospital with a lot of exams, which I'm grateful for. I'm happy to be here today, and I think I'm going to stay above board, above ground too, for a while. I am elated on this great day. The sun is shining, and we have in our presence, let me call, a bleak of hope. And some of you have seen him, a huge number have not. And we're not here to agree or disagree. We're here to introduce to some and present to others the youngest, one of the youngest state reps in the country. He's just over 20 years old. He's been in the House for 2 or 3 years. He's co-sponsored some bills. He's kicked some rump in one arena and smoothed some rump in another arena. So he's what I wanted to be. He is, I want to call him somebody. I'll tell you a little story about Harvey. When I was 6 or 7 years old, my mother inoculated me with an immune system that says, I am somebody. I'm with the best, not better than the best, and never less than the rest. And that immunization has helped me pierce some ceilings, jump over some hoops, and be as fire in the belly and enraged for 17 years of my life. Now, we're not here to talk about me. You know quite a bit about me, but I have to tell you that because from where I came from, I wasn't expected to be anybody because so many people wanted to make me a nobody. And that was not going to happen according to my mother. So I am pleased to say to you and introduce to this fabulous audience a young man that he doesn't know how much I admire him, that I admire tremendously. His name is State Representative Jonah Wheeler, who is somebody. If you notice, you didn't notice, but when he came into the door, his chest was out, his head was back. He was looking at the sun to never see his shadow, which means he's going forward.
Mr. Keye, it's always a pleasure. It really is.
I am going to ask Jonah a couple of questions before I get him on his spill, because I understand from several of the representatives who are my good friends in the House say, he can speak, can he? I say, yes, he can. He got a mouth, got to speak. And he wears a tweed suit. I said, not every day. And he is who? I said, I can tell you, he's somebody. And to be reckoned with, he's around. So, the first question, Representative, is how old are you?
23 years old. I was born
23
March 1st,
years old.
2003. I just celebrated my 23rd birthday, and I don't know, I don't feel 23, I feel 5 years old, I'll tell you that.
Do you?
Some days I wake up and I think to myself, you know, I could play Thomas the Train Engine pretty good right now, you know, I don't know. But I do, you know, I do want to tell a story, I guess, about my birth that just makes me think when I first said March 1st, 2003, of the story that my mom tells of when I was born in a bathtub in Keene. Bringing me back from the home birthing center, she drove past on the circle in Keene the group of protesters who were protesting the coming Iraq war, which 16 days later on the 17th, if I'm not mistaken, President Bush authorized the shock and awe tactic that we saw with the destruction of Baghdad. And the people who knew this was coming were out protesting in Keene, and she remembers bringing me into the world and driving past that group of protesters and crying to herself, wondering, what have I done? What have I brought into this world? But knowing, no, this is hope. This right here is hope in the future. Not knowing I would go on to do politics, but knowing we've got a beating heart in a young man here that I was just privileged to birth, and we could move forward together if we use the optimism of this child to bring us forward. You know, it was a depressing moment. It was a depressing moment, but it had its optimism as well, because that's what children are at the end of the day. They're the hope, they're the faith that we as human beings put in the future. And so I am always reminded of that story. I do joke about
that's a great
feeling
story.
5 years old. I do sometimes feel pretty young, especially
that's a great story.
in a body that is
And
so
what
old.
I could shift to that before. You mentioned the word hope. I'm not going to ask you to define hope, because more than likely you can't define hope to my satisfaction. Hope, love, consciousness, intelligence, all of those intrinsic values are inexplicable to somebody else, to their satisfaction. They are personal, but infinite conscious around the world. You have, same as I do. What I'm saying is, hope is a shell that needs a spark to explode it. I'm going to give you what I think, like you have a car. If you don't have a car, you do. Maybe you do. I'm not sure.
I do.
But it has a tank full of gasoline.
Not right now.
But I'm trying to explain what hope is. Hopefully you agree. But if you don't, I don't really care. Because hope needs a spark to go forward and move. A car has a tank full of gasoline in the back, has a line that goes up to an engine. And that line has a compression, puts the gasoline in the engine. It sits there until there's a spark to explode it, and the car goes. That's a rough explanation. I know the mechanics will put me in jail if I try to explain that. But I'm saying hope without a spark is useless. You are the spark in the hope that pushes New Hampshire forward, in my opinion.
Well, thank you, sir. I don't know. What I know is, to bring it back to just what I was saying before, it's the hope that I feel when I look at my baby cousins, Sheridan, Hilda, and Veronica.
Yeah.
Those three girls and the other children in my life give me the hope of the future that
That's
I
the
think my
spark.
mother felt exactly when she was bringing a child home amidst this massive illegal war that President Bush was doing. I mean, nobody thought it was going to get worse, but here we are, 20 years later.
Yes.
And I think that same hope still exists. It's not that
But you see, that's what I'm
the
saying.
political hope does
Jonah,
exist.
what I'm
but
saying,
that
the hope is no good without a spark.
absolutely.
You're the spark in the hope of New Hampshire. I'm interested in humanity across the board. No respect for religion, creed, race, color. No respect for it at all, because all of us came from the same source. And I hold up this piece of paper. Let's call this the source of humanity. Every living human being came from this source. Every beating heart, 9 billion on planet Earth today, came from this source. If that's true, would you agree that we're brothers and sisters?
Absolutely.
So when I see Jonah, I see Harvey, because he's part of me. It may be submicroscopic, but I see it in my vision. And you have a vision of doing something in this state to help people in your town, Peterborough, like Andy Peterson, and other people in that state, in the town,
Absolutely.
become a better Peterborough. And that's the whole reason for being born.
Well, I mean, I believe that in my heart as well.
Yeah.
I believe that the public sector, when we have economy and society of private enterprise and the private markets, exists so that we the people, the human beings that make up the society in which we live.
Across the board.
Across the board, regardless of race,
Race, creed,
religion,
color, religion.
sex, sexual
man-made.
orientation. It's all creation's borders that we use to put ourselves into boxes.
That's man-made.
Breaking free of the boxes, we are all under the umbrella of the public sector. That's why I believe in it so
Right.
full-throatedly. I said the other day at my monthly town hall that I hold in Peterborough, I do not see this position that I'm in as a stepping stone to, I said the presidency at the time sort of jokingly because I don't want to be president, but I mean any position whatsoever. This isn't a stepping stone for career to the United States Senate or the United States Congress.
What is it for?
It's for returning the republic that exists here in New Hampshire, the state legislature, which represents more democratically than any other legislature on the face of this planet, its constituents, 3,500 people to one representative. Using that foundation, the transparent, accountable, open foundation that we have with the mechanics of the body as it exists already, and bringing that legislature to the point where everyone feels a part of it.
Let me ask you this.
If we do that, I'm confident that people will again believe in government. And
Yes.
that will happen across the board. New Hampshire exists as, I think, the political domino which could fall and break the stranglehold that corporations have on.
Let's call it the shining city on the hill.
That's right.
If that's
it's,
what that's
this small state that nobody thinks would have anything to do with anything, but these rolling hills contain a lot of magic.
Who was the president that says, I don't know if the president, maybe it was, who was the actor who became a president?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan
Yeah.
says, this city, no, he was talking about the United States, could be this shining city on the hill.
Right.
Well, he didn't mention Nashua or New Hampshire, but I want to keep it to Nashua and New Hampshire because we have the opportunity and the privilege to demonstrate to all America that we can do better today than we did yesterday.
No doubt about it.
Okay.
And we have that opportunity in a way that no other state, community, municipality has. And
Yes.
so we really have to live up to that privilege. And that's
the
what
way
I've
we
done in the
start
State
that,
House.
Rep, rep, it's okay.
Rep.
Is one-to-one, knee to knee, eye to eye,
Absolutely.
soul to soul. And where do you find the soul of a man? I'll tell you, it's in his consciousness. You can't define or find consciousness. Neither can I. It's infinite. It is not finite by a long shot. It is inescapable. It's never ending. And the greatest tool in our consciousness, some say, is our imagination. I, with you, believe and dream in a better New Hampshire going forward because of young people can grab, snatch a little bit of happiness with participation. We can make it to the promised land. Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Please. I know you and
Where
I.
did you go to school?
I went to Conval High School.
What does Conval mean?
Conval is the school district that exists in the Monadnock region of this state.
Is that high school?
Yeah. So it's
What kind of grades did you get?
not very good. C's and D's.
That's
No.
That's all right.
No, I got some A's and B's in English and what was the other class? Science. I did pretty good, but in math and whatever the fourth one was, I'm forgetting. Math, science, literature. I don't know.
Who was your
But
favorite teacher?
My favorite teacher ever? It's a good question. That's a hard question. I had a lot of really good teachers, actually. The one that first comes to mind is a woman named Colleen Brophy, but I had a lot of really good teachers.
How did you get to be motivated at this age to become involved in government?
Well, to be honest, I think that a lot of young men, women today have raw ambition, right? We want to change the world. We want to get things done.
I didn't ask you that.
Well, I'm answering your question. Let me get to it.
I want to know who motivated you.
Let me get to it. Because no one particularly motivated me. I was motivated by myself and the story that I lived through. I saw being born of, my mother was a year younger than I am right now when I was born. And, she had a very tough childhood. And that made growing up and raising a young man and then subsequently 2 years later, my sister, very tough. And I saw when she was raising us what it's like to be alone amongst so many.
Yes.
To have to work so hard to get by and still not get by. To find yourself underwater even though you've put everything that you have in your soul into getting above it. And so what motivated me to get involved in government, I guess, maybe it was a lack of attention from my mother, I don't know. But I think it was actually, I joke, probably on some level it was, but, proactively, consciously, what it was, I don't want to ever see anyone go through what my mother, myself, and my sister went through ever again. And I believe in a nation and a world as rich as ours in terms of wealth, not just dollars, but in terms of raw wealth, the resources that we have tapped into in the 21st century, the technology available to human society. No human being should live through the life that my mother lived through, that her mother lived through, that I lived through, my sister lived through, that my father is living through, that my brothers and sisters across the country are living through. And that's it.
You can help.
We can help. Well, not just me. That's why I always interject when you say I'm the spark. Whether or not I'm in office.
No.
Well, hold on, let me say, because whether or not I'm in office is irrelevant. It is relevant in some level, but it's also irrelevant because it's not just me. It's you.
It's we the people.
It's we the people. Exactly.
That's the name of the game.
Every single one of us standing up and using our creative spirit in whatever way that source energy has given us and utilizing it for the future.
Yes.
My creative energy, I can speak a little well and I'm good on the house floor.
Yeah.
So I guess for this time, God has allowed me to do just that on the house floor. But whatever that looks like for everyone else, it could be entirely different. Making music,
Absolutely.
making, community building song.
You just mentioned God.
Absolutely.
Who's God?
Well, the source energy that we have, that we all came from. That's it.
There it is, right there.
Yeah.
All of us came from God.
Right.
Thank you for that explanation. And I hope you folks out there understand God is God for all of us. We all came from this source. And if you leave that source, you'll get into a position called ego. I am rich. I have a bigger car. I have better clothing. I live in a bigger house. I eat steak every day. Is not important, folks. Another question for this representative. Do you plan to further your education?
Every day. I mean,
Formal education.
I know what you meant. I get that question a lot. Do I plan to go to college? Not at the moment. No, I don't. At the moment, I plan to do everything I can to get in an apartment and put myself economically into the position where I can serve a third term in the legislature. I think the legislature is dying. I think it is being killed. And I think it is urgent.
Why is it being killed?
Well, because I think there are people who don't believe in the tradition of a republic. I think there are people who want to centralize power in the hands of the authority figures of the world, the executive
Are most
branch.
of the representatives over there over 70 years old?
The average age of the House right now, I think, is 60, 65, something like that. But I don't think it has to do with age, though.
Most are retired or rich.
Absolutely, yeah, I would say so. The majority of the body is retired, and that is because, as you well know, we make only $100 a year.
Starvation
wages. I had a constitutional amendment in the hopper this year to remove the salary cap from the Constitution because everybody tries to propose different salaries through constitutional amendments. Fact of the matter is, no one is ever going to get 240 votes on any one particular number of a salary or the other. Whether you try to bring it to the rate of inflation, whether you try to raise the salary to whatever it might be, $10,000, $14,000, it's not going to happen through the constitutional amendment process because they originally did it in the Constitutional Convention process in the late 1870s, and they did it because the people needed to put a check on their legislature that wasn't doing their job properly. It's a totally different situation, a totally different political landscape, and they'd never expected, ever, that the state constitution would be as stagnant as we see it now, because back then it was much more of a fluid document.
Did you sponsor that?
I did, yeah. I wrote.
And who co-sponsored it?
I had a full group of House co-sponsors. Majority of them were majority caucus members, people like Deborah DeSimone, John Sytek, John Petusik, and others, but also members of the minority party like Peter Leishman and other people.
Is the pretense of all what you're doing helping New Hampshire?
Well, you had mentioned the salary, and I do think this would help New Hampshire, because if we had taken out of the salary gap out of the Constitution, then we would be able as a legislature to actually debate whether or not we should pay the legislature some kind of per diem or salary, while doing so through the budgetary process, which is the way to handle money in this state. People, unfortunately, in the legislature, people who I had gone to and I had a pretty respectful conversation, I thought, decided to pitch what I had said to them wrongfully. You know, some people might call it a lie. I won't exactly do that, by saying that I proposed that legislation to create a Massachusetts-style professional legislature in New Hampshire. I had actually said the exact opposite to this individual, but nonetheless, it was a clever political tactic, and the bill was tabled on the House floor, unfortunately. But I'm, confident. I knew that it wasn't going to pass this term. Thought we would get a better hearing on the House floor. I didn't think that the political
But you keep on pushing.
That's exactly what I'm about to say. You know, the backstabbing happened this year, but this was just the first go-around of something that will occur. And once it is out of the Constitution, then we can have those debates about where the salary should go. The legislature before this constitutional cap had a $3 a day per diem. Today, that would be about $100 a day. And I think that would be perfect compensation.
Adequate,
Exactly is the right word for what the legislature needs in the time served. So I'm supportive of that. Absolutely.
Do you believe that an educated society is a thriving society?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
That's why I care about the public school system so much. And I think that, our party has almost, I don't think it's gotten it wrong in a lot of ways, but I think the way we approach this issue hasn't brought people back into the fold. We're losing people's support of public education. Why? Because the public education system is, the unions don't like me saying this, but it's broken. In a lot of ways, the public education system is broken. As somebody who just went through it, the curriculum that we're teaching our students is not putting them in the best place for the 21st century and its economy. The way I see it, we should have a country, a public sector that gives the best education available to its constituents and its society in the 21st century.
At no charge?
At no charge. At no charge.
Do we have the money?
Absolutely. I mean, we provide, beforehand, we only did kindergarten. And then people said, do we have the money for providing higher education in high school? Turns out we did. And turns out that absolutely changed the economy and people's ability to be educated. And we absolutely do have the money for free public education at a higher level for the higher education. And the way we do it is a 0.75% surcharge tax on all Wall Street speculation, which would raise over what we need to fund yearly public universities and tuition for the colleges in our country. I haven't said that in a long time, but when I used to advocate for national politics a lot, I would talk about that a lot, because there are simple solutions and the money absolutely is there without overburdening.
What's blocking that?
Well, what's blocking that is the fact that we have a corporate country, that both parties are run and subject to the will of the donor class in this country. And as we've found out from the Epstein files, the donor class is in large part a pedophilic, ritualistic elite that have every vested interest in maintaining psychological, emotional, and social control over the entire populace of this country. And so it is in their best interest not to have people that are
During your time in the House, young man, how many bills have you sponsored?
111.
Folks, 111.
It's a good number.
And he just got there. He hit the ground running. Well, jumping, maybe, I'm not sure. But how many have you sponsored and co-sponsored? 130?
111.
Okay. Which one of these bills? I know you have, if you did 100. And I'm concerned about New Hampshire. Most effective in New Hampshire. All of New Hampshire. What, in your opinion, 2 or 3 bills, you could mention, it doesn't matter. I'm concerned about New Hampshire growing to be a lovely state, a welcoming state, an embracing state across the board. And we can't keep calling ourselves black and white in this. And I said we wouldn't get into racism because that's a global disease. Racism is, and we won't touch it, except in this state, we can stop calling each other black and white. The only 2 races on the face of this earth, in this country and in New Hampshire, are called black and white. You got 850 churches in New Hampshire, 850 denominations, I guess, but they all divide on Sunday, black churches and white churches. And I won't get into Christian religion, they believe in this guy called Christ, they would not be divided. They would not be killing each other. They would not be having bombs falling on Israel and Pakistan, those other countries. They would be following a more sober path toward humanity, to embrace each other and love each other. That's hard to do in a trying times like this. And right now we are on the tip of losing democracy. And I would hope that, and we won't get into all of this other stuff, because I got you here for another reason. But I put that in your pocket so that you think about it going down the road. We must, as a human race, change the way we are thinking about each other as brothers and sisters. Or as Martin Luther King says, if we don't, we'll die as fools. We can live together, embracing each other as brothers and sisters, because we all came from this source, or we will be a different species eventually. Now, I got to one question that you had 130 bills in the time you sponsored, and the one I want you to think about or tell us about, most effective in New Hampshire, for New Hampshire.
Well,
you can name 3 or 4.
yeah, that's a good question. I would say that the ones that are most effective are probably the equalization of the property tax rate for the state. Right now we have a property tax rate that in large part the rate is set by the Department of Revenue Administration, our version of the IRS. And as a result, the distribution method is wrong-headed. You know, I don't want to speak out of turn here. There are people like Doug Lay and Marjorie Smith who understand this issue a lot closer. But I co-sponsored that piece of legislation because in 1999, when the Republican, at that time, Appropriations Committee passed a $6 per thousand valuation of the property tax rate, the municipal rate, and in all 234 towns and cities in our country, I'm tired today, Harvey. The rate went down, okay? And so that is something that is substantial for the people here in our state. We've got municipal property taxes going out the wazoo for every one of the towns and cities in our state. And that's because the state isn't providing enough aid to these towns when it comes to their school budgets, but it's also because the municipal spending is out of control. And so we've got these two things that the legislature, I think, has avenues to deal with. One of them is equalizing the property tax rate, making a fair distribution back to the municipalities and towns, properly funding our public school system so that the kids are properly funded, not in the sense that they aren't right now. It's that the cost for these students, which is fixed, is being borne by the municipalities and the localities. If that cost was fairly distributed by the state, then we would all be paying a less rate. For property.
Yeah.
And for our education dollars. And so that is one of the things that we could do that would, you know, substantially lower the property tax rate for our 234 towns and cities. What, you know, that has been the main focus. Most of the bills, which I would say have the most impact, have been around that issue. Taxing the people who can afford to be taxed and offsetting the burden away from those who cannot. Making the tax rates fair in this state so that we have a state that is fluid and flush, but is not overburdening our citizens.
Governor Ayotte, I hope you're listening. And
I hope you're not. I wasn't as good as I wanted to be on this show, but I hope you're listening to that because it's 100% true. It's not a partisan issue.
No.
Like I said, in 1999, it was a Republican Appropriations Committee in the House.
But today, right today, New Hampshire has one of the highest tax rates in the country.
Yes.
Yes.
For property taxes.
Yeah, for property taxes. And the mayor Dunches, Jim Dunches, my favorite mayor, hope you're listening too, Jim, and work on it because we are the #1 city in the country to raise a family. And that is inclusive and indicative of all people. Now, I had a couple other questions I want to get out of this young representative. Any of your bills impacted the cost of food on the table in New Hampshire? Any of your bills impacted the cost of college in this state? Any of your bills came back to haunt you?
That ended really good. The answer to the first two questions is no, but I have been an advocate of raising the funds that the state pays to lower tuition at our our state universities, not public, but state universities, which I guess are public, although I don't know the answer to that. Nonetheless, I have absolutely been an advocate against the cutting of the dollars that have gone to UNH and the college system here in the state, which we are 50th in funding our higher education.
Say it again.
We are 50th in the country in funding our higher education, at the same time as UNH and the other in-state schools have some of the highest in-state tuition across the country. And so when we're talking about young people staying here, which isn't just good because we like seeing young faces around and I want friends and all this good stuff, it's good because when we're talking about an economy, we need people who can work the shops, who can be at the restaurants, who can serve and do the things that need to be done in order to keep the state moving. We can't just have a state comprised of retirement homes, as much as I like hearing the wisdom of my elders. We need a diverse group of people, not just racially, but ideologically. And, and age-wise, ideologically is something that's been on my mind today. But age-wise, we need a diverse group of people. We need to keep young people here. So
how do we do that?
Well, by funding our public education system properly. But also because we need legislation which is going to address the cost of housing in the state. And I don't think that is solely just blowing up the zoning laws that we have here in this state so that developers can build more houses and we don't have local control. I think that it means putting in place strong rental protections for our tenants against landlords who would like to exploit them. I think it means making policies that promote an economy that allows for rental properties to be cheaper than they are right now. And that includes building more, but it isn't just building more. And it's got to be a comprehensive approach that is, has to be acknowledged. This is a worldwide issue, but it's also, we can, I think, do things here at a state level.
We could do that in this state.
We can do things at a state level.
We can do more in this state than many other states can do. Why?
I'm not sure exactly if that's true because we have less resources than other states. But what we can do here is work in a collaborative fashion with each other. Together.
We have
1.5 million citizens. We've got a shared history in large part. And, bringing people into the fold and returning the idea of that shared history, I think, is in large part going to allow us to collaborate together and move forward for long-term thinking as to how we save this state moving forward. If we come together in a discussion and decide we'd like this state to be a retirement community, then that's what we have decided. But that discussion has not happened. That is
why not?
Well, because the legislature doesn't want to debate these issues. It limits debate on the policies that it has before it. It has 1,400 pieces of legislation and it gives itself 3 months. Why? Because the leadership of the legislature would rather make it so that the individual members of the legislature have less power and that it is put in the hands of leadership. They're going to attempt, Harvey, mark my words, I might not be in the legislature moving forward, but mark my words, they will attempt to put in place rules that say members can only propose X amount of legislation. They will attempt to limit debate on the House floor as a matter of rule.
But this is not new. They've been doing that since I was there.
No, well, it hasn't worked as well as it is right now. When you were there, the debate was still happening in a large part. When you were there, there was mixed seating in the legislature. When you were there, there weren't 1,400 bills being proposed. And there were people who I think cared about the state more than they do their own political agenda. They'll care about their political agenda, but at the end of the day, if their political agenda gets in the way of the interests of the state, they would put their political agenda aside. That isn't the case right now, and I think that has led to a much more dangerous and urgent need to save the legislature than existed even 20 years ago. 20 years ago, these things did need to happen. We needed someone to save the legislature 20 years ago, or even 40 years ago. We didn't have that person. We didn't have those people. I'm not, frankly, even sure if we do right now, but I'm going to continue.
I can tell you we don't. We don't have those.
Well, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we do. I know that we've got people up there like Peter Leishman, Marjorie Smith, who unfortunately is not running again, but Linda Harriet Gothright is running again, and we've got a whole host of people who are, and there are going to be good people that are serving up there. And frankly, the Democratic caucus and the membership in general is not all rich and retired people. There are a whole host of people who are working class, interested in getting this mission done. And
well, politics is part of everybody's
totally
life.
Possible. It's totally possible.
Politics is part of all of our lives. We, the people, got to understand, we got to understand that moving forward and making New Hampshire more loving. I say loving in the agape love kind of loving. I want to call it embracing differences.
Yeah.
Embrace all differences. See all of New Hampshire. Don't necessarily get stuck at any one place, but all of New Hampshire is so beautiful. And we need to try to keep it that way and become the shining state on the hill, as President Reagan says. And one other question, maybe two other questions.
You told me you're going to take me through the ringer, so I'm here for you, Harvey.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Well, Bob has said, don't keep him too long. But anyway, I just think what I wanted to say. In this globe, all of us came from, and all of us have a genius. Every one of the 9 billion folks on planet Earth have a genius. You have to find it. I think you have found your genius. I appreciate your capacity, your interest, your intelligence, your consciousness, because you are our genius at this time in our state. All you have to do is keep spreading the word. Now, I almost forgot my question, but I wanted to say, folks, this young man's mother inoculated him with, you're the best. You're never less than the best, by actually grinding great habits into him at a very early age. And of course, they don't call it what I call it. So to my young Democratic warrior, an independent mind of the warriors, is this young man who's going to help us become the best state in the country. And may I ask you this? What is it that you would like to tell the world? Something about you that they never heard before.
I'm not sure. I'm not stopping until I'm stopped.
You're not stopping.
Until I'm stopped.
The bottom line is he's never going to give up.
That's right.
He's going to keep pushing on.
I really, I don't know if I'm going to be able to run for re-election again. I'm sort of, as some of my friends might be able to tell from the footage of this, I'm a little stiff right now. I'm a little out of it. There's a lot to think about in this moment in history. I today did a tour with the State House. That's why I was I was on time, but just at the close of the,
You're on time.
right on the edge right there. And I had a group of high schoolers that I was speaking to with Senate President Carson at the Alvarine High School
Yes.
in Hudson. And so today was empowering in a lot of ways, getting to hear from young people and getting to speak to them, but it has also left me a little disoriented, and I'll tell you why. I'm disoriented because I too feel the weight of the moment that we're in right now. I don't particularly know if I have the answers. I for sure know I'm not 100% sure that I'll be able to financially or physically run for office again. I don't know if I'll have the economic means to do that. But I know that I have until December of this year in office. And I know that this moment in American history is one of the most important. I've cared about American history since I was taught who could read. And knowing the history of this country, I can't stay silent right now. And what that looks like, I don't know. And so it ends up, the words just don't come out right.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to say in this moment, Harvey? Because
here's what we're going to say.
It's
Together,
it's tough.
We,
it really is.
the people, will never give up. Will never give up. We have been enraged. We are enraged. We have fire in our bellies that keeps this engine running. We're never going to give up. Never, ever going to give up. With or without the finances, we're never going to give up
100%.
pushing for democracy.
Well, and that's what I want to say. No matter what happens in terms of me running for office, and that's why I emphasized earlier, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you, has everything to do with everyone watching, it has everything to do with the young people who I spoke to today. That's what I relayed to them. It doesn't matter. Don't rely on me. Don't rely on me running for some higher office one day. Don't rely on me getting it done in the legislature. Rely on you. Rely on you participating as a citizen, a part of this republic. Because 250 years ago, you had a group of men who understood the Greek tradition. Were they slave owners? 100%. Were they wealthy? Yes, no doubt about it. They were wealthy beyond belief. Were they a part of mystery orders that had racist, sexist beliefs that enforced a world of hate and derision?
Yes.
Absolutely. Were they also individual-minded, independent-minded people who wanted a world of liberty, broken free from a world which was under the divine right of kings for thousands of years? Yes. Were they, in the context of their time, great men who built a society which has been the longest-lasting republic on the face of this planet, which has inspired the red, white, and blue flags on tens of the different countries in this world?
Yes.
Absolutely. And so we are privileged beyond belief, to live in a country that is underneath that umbrella, that has the mythos that America does. And so I do find myself disoriented in this moment in time, Harvey. I find myself struggling to find the words to speak to the moment that we're in right now, because I saw it when I was driving in today. You look at young people and you see them stuffed in their face, their hair ragged, their clothes, you can see that they don't care. Because when someone presents, they present how they are on the inside in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it's not that they don't care, that was wrong of me to say, it's that they're apathetic. It's that they don't know that they are supposed to care. It's that they've been told that the world isn't for them and that it never was. In fact, it is. In fact, we all come from source. In fact, every beating heart, leg that walks, eyes that see, ears that hear, mouth that speaks, is a part of the human diaspora. We're going to have differences. We're going to have differences in culture. We're going to have differences in how we look at people and how we see people. Those differences will always exist. Will we have a society that can operate together in the public interest? I 100% believe so. And that means a society that protects the environment for the generations that are to come. The education system, giving those generations the best knowledge available to them at the time. It means a health system that doesn't allow anybody to fall by the wayside from disease, sickliness, because of the lack of funds. It means a country that cares for the national interests. And in this era of human society, the 21st century, when there are robots, as you and I speak, being rolled out in boxes in Boston and New York and major American cities, little robots that are going to patrol the streets, that are waving at people as they pass by. It's so cute. In fact, it is the enforcement of a dystopia, the likes of which we will never get out of. And if we don't, in this moment, the fork in the road, decide that we are human beings and our creative spirit matters more than the dystopian nature of the world that's being built around us, then we can absolutely get out of it. If we don't, then we will concede to this dystopia. And so I do find myself disoriented, clouded by the weight of the moment that we are in right now, but I stand right now before somebody whose shoulders I walk on in the legislature. You don't know how much I think about you when I'm up there, Harvey. A lot. And I know Linda does too, and I know a lot of people do, and I'm also walking in the footsteps of them as well. There is a legislature that 100% can work if we tap into it. We just have to tap into it. And whether I run again or not, whether I'm there or not, I'm going to do everything I can to make that the reality, because no matter where I am on this planet, New Hampshire is a special place, and the magic here must be protected by the wizards and warlocks.
Folks,
that are
you have heard
many other people.
The word from the genius of the. He's not going to accept that. But we have to push him and pull him, rather, in the direction that he's going, which, in my opinion, is our salvation. In my opinion, is a wake-up call for young people in this state to become a participant in our government and become aware of what's going on. We cannot allow historic artifacts to overrun us anymore. We must wake up, and let's call it We the People. I want to thank this young warrior, a Democrat with an independent mind, to keep pushing, never give up. And Representative, I thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Key.
It's my pleasure.
It's mine.
Have a good
It
day.
really is.
Thank you, Nashua.
Thank you.
Stay in the game. Never give up.